Hi, my name is Dani. Now I am present about finding policies from the impact of inflation on everyday life articles. Now let's go to table of contents. I have two articles which are from ABC News and The Conversation. I found three fallacies from article 1 such as hasty generalization, strawman and false alarm. And Article 2 have appeal to emotion, appeal to authority, and post hoc. Now let's talk about Article 1. The title is The Cost of Living Crisis Isn't Getting Any Easier. Here's how inflation and interest rates are impacting us. Let's talk about the overview of Article 1. The ABC article explains how Australians are struggling with the cost of living crisis. Prices for essentials like food, rent, and fuel have increased due to inflation, while wages haven't kept up. The Reserve Bank raised interest rates to control inflation, but this makes mortgage and loans more expensive, adding pressure on many households. The impact is uneven. Mortgage holders feel the most pain, while retirees with savings may benefit. The RBA aims to reduce inflation from 2 to 3% by 2025, with causing mass unemployment. Now let's talk about the first fallacy, which is hasty generalization. It happens when someone makes a big conclusion based on too little evidence. It means they judge a whole group or situation using only a few examples that don't really represent the whole picture. The article said that many are employed but still not able to make ends meet. In this quote, the writer took a small or specific situation from some working people struggling and use it to make a big claim about all workers. That's why it is hasty generalization. Let's move to strongman fallacy. It happens when someone changes another person's argument to make it weaker or easier to attack, instead of responding to what was really said. The article said that I think people look at that and they are like, okay, so everything's getting more expensive. And your solution is to make my house more expensive. I can't quite compute that. This is a straw man fallacy because the person is attacking a simplified version of the policy, saying it's making house expensive instead of the real reason, which is to manage inflation. Now let's go to false dilemma fallacy. It happens when someone says there are only two choices, even though more options actually exist. It makes people think they must pick one extreme or the other. The article that there is no costless way to get inflation down. This is a false dilemma because it makes it seems like we only have two choices: suffer costs or keep inflation high. But in reality, there are other ways to manage inflation without extreme outcomes. Now let's go to Article 2. The title is How Rising Living Costs Are Changing the Way We Date, Live and Love. Now let's go to the overview of Article 1. The conversation article explains how rising living costs are reshaping relationship, dating, and social life. Financial stress is straining couples, delaying milestones like moving out or starting families, and even leading some separate partners to keep living together. Dating has become more cost conscious, like cheaper activities and earlier discussion about money. Many singles cancel or avoid dating because of expense. Friendships are also affected as people cut back on social outing. Let's talk about appeal to emotion fallacy. It happens when someone tries to win an argument by making people feel strong emotions rather than providing evidence. From the article, it said that around the world, economic pressures are taking a significant toll on personal relationships. It is an appeal to emotion because it tries to make readers feel sorry or concerned about how money affects relationships, but it doesn't actually give clear evidence or facts to prove it. Now let's talk about appeal to authority. It happens when someone uses an expert or famous person opinion as proof, even though that person isn't really qualified to talk about the topic. The article said that young adults in their 20s and 30s, in particular, are facing an altered social landscape where even the most fundamental aspects of relationships are being influenced by financial realities. It is an appeal to authority because article sounds like an expert is speaking, but it doesn't show where the information comes from. It asks readers to believe the statement just because it sounds like knowledgeable. Now let's talk about the last fallacy, which is post hoc. It happens when someone thinks one event caused another event just because it happened first, but the two might not actually be connected. The article said that at the same time, financial strain is leading to simpler and cheaper date nights. More than half of Canadians say the rising cost of living is affecting dating. Many people are opting for budget-friendly activities like coffee dates, picnics, or home-cooked meals instead of expensive dinners or weekend getaways. It is a positive policy because it assumes that people are dating differently only because of rising price. Just because one event happened after another doesn't mean one caused the other. Now let's talk about comparison and conclusion of both articles. Both articles address the rising cost of living, but they focus on different aspects of its impact. The ABC News article takes an economic and policy-based approach. It explains how inflation, interest rate, and banking forecasts affect Australians' everyday lives. The tone is factual but still sympathetic toward people facing financial pressure. It relies heavily on expert opinions and statistics, but sometimes present forecasts as certainty, which can make the argument seem one-sided. In contrast, the conversation article explains social and emotional impact. It focuses on how financial stress changes personal relationships, dating habits, and lifestyle choice. The language is more emotional, aiming to connect with readers' personal experience rather than data. While this makes it engaging, it risks overgeneralization or assuming that individual feelings represent society as a whole. When comparing reasoning, both articles contain logical fallacies. The ABC simplify complex issues, often framing solutions as limited choice, while the conversation relies more on emotional appeal and generalizations. Each use different convincing strategy. The ABC leans on authority and logic, while the conversation leans on empathy and emotion. Overall, the ABC article is stronger in analyzing economic causes, while the conversation highlights social consequence. That's all for my presentation and thank you for your attention.